So tell me about the first time you felt famous.
um, I used to want to go to the NBA. It's funny. I wasn't like good enough to go to the NBA. Obviously, I would have been there, but I had a lot of heart and passion. I believed in myself. But that's what you do in high school in 10th grade. You trying to go pro, right?
Yeah, because you played high school ball, right? High
Yeah, I
school
played high school
basketball.
ball. Yeah, high school
Hmm.
basketball. Ran track and things like that. But I always had this idea that people would know me somehow. If I'm being honest, I think I'm the youngest of six. I got a lot of attention in my household. I was really, they instilled a confidence in me that made me believe in myself and look for an audience. And so I always believed, honestly, in the back of my mind that I'd be doing something where people would recognize me and things like that. And that began to happen a little bit after the Get Down. I think I went to Afropunk in Brooklyn. I went to Afropunk in Brooklyn, and people they'd see me and they would look at me like I was strange because like I didn't belong there. And they would say, "What are you doing here?" What you mean I'm doing there? I'm at Afropunk. I didn't have VIP tickets or nothing like that. I was just right there, in the general, area, and people started asking for pictures and things like that, and uh that was strange. It was kind of fun, but it was also strange a little bit. Um, and then I think fan pages started to pop up, not with huge followings or nothing like that, but the stuff that they get. I mean, they get pictures that. I mean, I'm saying that they gonna they gonna see this. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? I appreciate y'all. But you mofos, I'm telling you, man, y'all good at what y'all do. Cause I mean, they get pictures and videos and stuff from like places that I have like no idea how you get this stuff. Um, but famous is a word that I don't really like to even, to be honest. I try to distance myself from that terminology because I like to see myself how I see myself, and fame, that's not none of my business, to be honest. That ain't none of my business. Uh, but I gotta have a healthy balance with it all.
Yeah, well, like it or not, people do know who you are. um, I hate to tell you, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but they know you, okay? And to that end, which is why so many people are super excited about Candyman opening up, I believe, in a
Right,
few days as
right.
of the taping of this podcast. I know I hated to break your heart there, but
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, a lot of people are super excited about this movie. I know I am. I grew up
Yeah,
obviously having seen the original. You're working with Jordan Peele, who has really been able to capture something. Newsflash to Hollywood, who didn't notice that Black people like horror movies and we like seeing each other in horror movies past the credits.
yeah,
That's okay, right past the
yeah.
opening credits. We like to live in the whole movie,
Right, right, right.
maybe even cause some of the drama as well and be the villain. What was it like for you playing this role?
Oh man, well first I go back to when I got the phone call, and that was strange, if I'm being honest. I'm like, what you mean? This sounds. I don't know what kind of opportunity this sounds like. You know what I'm saying? Like
Were
if
you
this is
were
a
you familiar with the original
Oh,
when
for
you got?
sure, for sure. I
Okay, all
was
right.
familiar with Candyman. Wasn't really familiar with the plot. I had forgotten it by then, right? But everybody knows Candyman somehow, right? I was 6 or 7, probably hadn't seen the movie, but I knew about the bees and the hook and saying that, Candyman 5 times in the mirror. I grew up with that, even like living in the projects. And Candyman was in the projects, so Candyman seemed like he could be where, he could really come to where I was because his environment was so familiar. So I knew how iconic it was, but I did not immediately receive this with open arms. I was not necessarily skeptical, but I wanted to hear more. It wasn't like an immediate yes because I didn't really. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. I needed more information because I don't want to necessarily be slashing people with a hook, and I didn't see that as my trajectory. Um, but I had a conversation with Nia DaCosta, our director. She talked about filmmaking. We talked a little bit about the film, but mostly we talked about her favorite movies, her style of directing, and we talked about drama school and art, and she was just really so smart and informative that I said, you know what? I don't fully know what you want to do with this film yet, but I really like your style. I really like how she got down. And I said, you know, you're somebody who I feel like I can trust my talent to. Um, and then we talked about the movie and what the goals were, and then it was everything was clear, you know.
Well, sometimes when you're remaking something that people loved and a bit of a nostalgia play, people can get
Yeah,
very critical, right? And
yeah,
so, but based off what I've read, because I haven't been able to pre-screen the film, based off what
hmm
I've read,
yeah.
it seems like you're giving people, and you obviously you were in it, so you can correct me. You're giving people who may have seen the first one enough of what they remember,
hmm
and but also putting such a new dimension to it
Oh, for
that
sure.
that you're creating something that you leave your own imprint. Is that a fair way to
Yeah, yeah.
characterize this? Yeah.
That's definitely a fair way. I think if you're a fan of the original Candyman, then you'll definitely be satisfied in this one. You got to give the fans some things to to appreciate, because that's the reason why a lot of fans are going to be in the seats in the first place, is because they want to, they want that nostalgic feeling. They want that feeling of what it's like to be haunted by the Candyman, and we definitely are going to have those horror elements. But one of the things that placing the story 30 years later gives us the opportunity to do is to, to talk about that world of Candyman in a contemporary setting. Also, with having a black director, a black writer and producing team, it gives us the chance to tell that story that people love and know from a black perspective, and by doing that, it gives us the chance to really take the reins over the narratives of our trauma. Candyman. Most people remember Candyman as a slasher, as a villain, but some somehow the majority of the people, not everybody, but the majority of people forget that Candyman was an artist, Daniel Robital, who was lynched, who was created into a monster at the hands of white violence. And so what our story gives us the opportunity to do is to say, okay, well, let's go back to Cabrini Green 30 years later and to see how how those acts of white violence, how that resonates today, and what it means to tell the story of our trauma from our perspective.
It might not have been an immediate yes to Candyman, but I'm guessing it was a hell yeah to Matrix 4, right?
Yeah, I went after that one.
You
Yeah,
went after that one.
I went
Okay,
after that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
All right. So
I
so
went
what
after that.
happened? How'd you lock it down?
I had an audition. I got something in my box, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is what we're doing. And I locked myself in a room for a couple of days working on the material. Flew out to Los Angeles and had a meeting with Lana Wachowski. We sat down and we talked for about an hour, and then we went through an acting session for about half an hour, and did it again the next day. And about less than a week later, I got a phone call, um, saying that I'm trying to be very careful with my words. Saying that I was welcome to the team.
Hmm. I know how those super blockbuster movies can be all
Yeah,
secretive
yeah,
and
yeah.
everything, but
But that was the
if any,
process.
yeah, well, that had to tell me you at least celebrated that.
Yeah, I was forced to go out and celebrate that. I was forced to go out and celebrate that and have some drinks. And because I called my mama, I let her know. But then I probably was about to go to sleep and get ready for press the next day because I had press for Watchmen or something like that. I'm always thinking ahead and trying to plan. And I was definitely forced to stop what I was doing, to come out, to have drinks, to have shots. You know what I'm saying? And to have a good time. And I'm so glad I did that because that's what I remember most about that moment now.